In a small, quiet village nestled at the edge of a vast, whispering forest, there lived a woodcutter named Orion. He wasn't a man of great wealth or grand ambitions. His riches were his honesty and the simple joy he found in his work. Every morning, just as the first rays of sunlight painted the sky in shades of rose and gold, Orion would pick up his trusty iron axe and venture into the woods. The forest was his second home, a place of towering trees, dappled sunlight, and the sweet scent of damp earth and pine. His axe, though old and worn, had a handle polished smooth by years of hard work and a blade he kept as sharp as a winter as frost. It was his only tool, the key to his livelihood, and he treasured it dearly. One particularly warm afternoon, the air thick with the hum of insects, Orion found himself working near the river that snaked through the forest. The water, clear and cool, gurgled cheerfully over smooth, gray stones. He chose a large, sturdy oak that stood close to the bank, its branches reaching out over the water. He swung his axe with a practiced rhythm, the steady thwack echoing through the trees. Sweat beaded on his brow, and his hands, calloused and strong, gripped the axe handle tightly. On one powerful swing, his grip faltered. The axe, flick with sweat, slipped from his grasp, spun through the air in a gleaming arc, and plunged into the river with a loud splash. Orion's heart sank. He stared at the spot where his axe had disappeared, ripples spreading across the water's surface. A wave of panic washed over him. Without his axe, he couldn't chop wood. Without wood, he couldn't earn money to feed his family. He was a simple man, and buying a new axe was a luxury he couldn't afford. He knelt at the riverbank, his head in his hands, tears of despair welling in his eyes. He wasn't just mourning a tool, he was mourning his ability to provide, his very purpose. The forest, usually a source of comfort, now seemed to mock him with its silence. Just as he was about to give up all hope, the river before him began to shimmer with an unnatural light. The water swirled and bubbled, and from its depths rose a majestic figure. It was the river god, his form crafted from the flowing water itself. His beard was like white foam, his eyes held the deep green of river moss, and his voice was the gentle, rumbling sound of the current. He held a magnificent axe made of pure, shimmering gold. It glittered in the sunlight, casting dancing reflections all around. The god looked at the weeping woodcutter with kind eyes. "Why do you cry, good man?" he asked, his voice echoing softly. Orion, startled but honest, explained his plight. "I have lost my only iron axe in your waters. It was all I had." The river god smiled gently. "Is this golden axe the one you lost?" he offered, holding it out. Orion's eyes widened at the sight of such a treasure. It was worth more than he could earn in a lifetime, but it was not his. He shook his head firmly. "No, your majesty. That is a beautiful axe, but it is not mine. My axe was made of simple iron." The river god nodded, pleased, and sank back into the water. A moment later, he reappeared, this time holding an axe of gleaming silver. It shone with a soft, lunar glow and was even more finely crafted than the golden one. "Perhaps this one is yours?" the god asked. Again, Orion was tempted. A silver axe would solve all his problems and more. But his integrity was stronger than his need. "No, sir," he said respectfully. "That is not my axe either. Mine was plain and old, made of iron." The river god's smile broadened. He was deeply impressed by the woodcutter's unwavering honesty. He disappeared beneath the surface one last time and returned holding 3 axes. In one hand, he held the golden axe, in the other, the silver axe. And clutched between them was Orion's own humble iron axe, its wooden handle dark with water. "You are a truly honest man," the river god declared, his voice full of warmth and admiration. "To reward your virtue, I will give you all 3 axes. The gold and silver ones will bring you comfort, but do not forget the value of your own honest work with your iron one." Overwhelmed with gratitude, Orion bowed deeply, his heart filled with a joy he had never known. He thanked the river god profusely and returned to his village, a changed man. The news of his good fortune spread like wildfire. He sold the golden and silver axes, and the money was more than enough to ensure his family would live in comfort for the rest of their days. He built a new, sturdy house, bought a small plot of land, but he never stopped being the humble, hardworking man he had always been. And for his work, he still used his old, reliable iron axe. Now, living in the same village was another woodcutter named Fenris. Fenris was Arian's neighbor, but he was his opposite in every way. Where Orion was content, Fenris was envious. Where Orion was honest, Fenris was greedy. He saw Arian's new house, his happy family, and his heart curdled with jealousy. When he heard the story of the river god, a sly, cunning plan began to form in his mind. He thought, if that simpleton Orion can get rich by being honest, imagine what I can get by being clever. The very next day, Fenris took his own cheap axe and hurried to the same spot by the river. He didn't bother to work. He simply looked around to make sure no one was watching, and then he deliberately threw his axe into the deepest part of the current. Then he put on his best performance of sorrow. He sat by the riverbank and began to wail and cry loudly, making a great show of his supposed misfortune. Sure enough, the water began to bubble and shimmer, and the river god appeared, just as he had for Orion. The god held up the magnificent golden axe. "Is this the axe you lost?" he asked, his voice calm and even. Fenris's eyes lit up with greed. He could barely contain his excitement. Yes, that's it. That's my axe," he shouted, reaching for it with grasping hands. He didn't even glance at it properly. The glint of gold was all he saw. The river god's expression changed. His kind face grew stern, and his eyes, once like gentle pools, now flashed with the cold light of a winter storm. "You are a liar," the god's voice boomed, no longer a gentle rumble but a thunderous crash. "You have tried to deceive me with your greed and falsehoods." Fenris shrank back, his face pale with fear. The river god raised his hand, and the golden axe vanished. "For your dishonesty, you will not receive the gold or the silver," the god declared, "and you will not even get back your own worthless axe. Let this be a lesson to you." With a final, disappointed look, the river god sank back into the depths, taking all the axes with him and leaving the river still and silent once more. Fenris was left alone on the riverbank, with nothing. He had lost his own axe, his chance at fortune, and had gained only shame. He returned to the village empty-handed and disgraced, a living example of how greed and dishonesty lead only to loss. Orion, meanwhile, continued to live a happy and prosperous life, always remembering the lesson he learned, that honesty is a treasure far more valuable than gold or silver. And his story, and the story of his greedy neighbor, was told for generations, a timeless reminder that in the end, true wealth is found not in what we have, but in who we are.